as we have folks coming in, it's so wonderful to see so many people here joining us. I recognize some names from last week, as well as some new names into our program. So it's always such a great thing to see this diverse crowd of individuals. I'll be a talking head a little bit. I'll preamble just so that we give some folks time to join us over the course of the next minute or two. But I'm super excited to be hosting this conversation. I know I shared the last time for those of you who were able to join us. It's a bit of a dream series for me, the chance to showcase just the brilliant women and change makers at Uvaro. Ilana, I'm so excited to be speaking with you today. Over the course of the month of February, we are going to be hosting these conversations. So this is the second of 4. They're going to be held at Thursday at 4 p.m. They're 30 minutes. We promise we won't keep you long. But the objective of these conversations is to really honor and celebrate the greatness and the achievements that the women who we'll be speaking with have achieved for themselves, because the reality is it's not incidental, it's not accidental. Each of these individuals, Ilana especially, is driven, humble, and they've been able to drive their own success because of the actions that they have taken in their careers. And so it's that is why I am humbled to be speaking with them today. So a little bit of a plug to get everybody excited. Last week, we spoke about understanding your why and why that is so important in this context, in this conversation of career success. This week's conversation is building on that a little bit. It's about overcoming performance blocks and mastering your skills. So Ilana, I know it's a big topic. We're going to dig into lots today. Before we jump into specific questions, I'd love to borrow just a couple more minutes and introduce you a little bit, if that works for you.
Of course.
Okay, perfect. And I think I've spoken for at least 120 seconds, which is giving some more people time to filter in, which I'm really excited about. Perfect. Ilana, before I met you, I had heard so much about you. It's one of those situations, I'm sure, to be on the receiving end where it's like, gosh, what did they say? But across the board, I heard Ilana's incredible. She's amazing. You need to meet with her. You got to speak with her. Just across the board, it was from customers, it was from our team members, the instruction team. And I obviously I'm very curious. I wanted to know, I was like, why is this person so incredible? I'm so excited to meet her. And one of our team members said it best. What they said is that Ilana just gets it done. And I loved that. I loved that so much. And now as your colleague, I mean, you're relatively new to our team. You're basically one of our senior team members by now, though, given how quickly things are moving. But just in this short period of time, I've been able to see firsthand that you just get things done. And that's incredible. But it's also very, very deceptive, because hearing that, getting things done sounds simple, right? It's like, oh yeah, you just get stuff done. But in reality, it's the only difference between achieving career success for yourself and not. It is the only difference between going after something and not. And so being an expert in getting things done is one of those kind of, open up the fortune cookie. You've got your fortune told. It's one of those secrets that's incredible that we all want to be able to tap into. And so being able to speak with you today and share your learning and share your experiences is truly wonderful, because being known as someone who gets things done, I've seen it firsthand, I've heard it from others, is pretty special. So thank you for that.
What a great intro.
Yeah, right? We can just go home now.
Yeah,
we're done. Cool. So, I mean, I want to stop talking. I want to turn it to you. What's your story? What brought you here today, Ilana Shulman?
Yeah, thank you. So excited to be here. My story is 17 years in the fitness industry, doing everything. So we think fitness, we think just exercise, but there's a lot more to it. That's really where I started my sales path, in terms of just getting to know potentially what members want, right? How are we going to have their mindset change to have a more active lifestyle? And it didn't have to be being at the gym 5 days a week, but also really seeing that community. When I had my son, I was motivated to make a change, because I was not only managing the fitness clubs, I was also teaching classes. So I was there for probably 14 hours a day. To be very honest, and knowing that my son was going to be, born soon, I really had to make a change. So I decided to throw my resume on Monster, because that's what you do back then. I didn't know anything else. I didn't have LinkedIn. And I got a call from a potential, company to go in and interview. And it was scary. It was my first opportunity to go into tech sales. And, the way it was sold to me was, everybody here is lions and tigers. How are you going to fit in? And I had no idea, but I knew I would just do what I could to just get the role because I was motivated. So the role was very much the full sales cycle sales job, where I was back then grabbing the yellow pages to be able to find my next potential customer. And I was there for approximately 4 years. So I started off really honing in on my sales craft, understanding how to have phone calls that were going to be qualified to run the meeting. And just over that time, just really learning a lot, knowing, doing a lot of self checks, what's working for me, what's not working for me, how can I just impress? Because I obviously wanted to grow in my last role in fitness. Like, I didn't have too much growth available. So I really wanted to take the time to grow. So a position came up to be a leader. I did not get the role, but I got feedback, and I got a lot of feedback, and I took that feedback. And for the next 6 months, until there was another manager role available, that's all I focused on. Obviously doing a good job, but how can I really internally look at this feedback and be able to get that job the next time? And just walking into that next interview 6 months later and them saying, why should I give you this job? I'd be like, here's that list of feedback. Here is everything I did. And I do believe at this point I can land that job. So I know I'm kind of going off on a total other side here, but I thought that was important. And that was my first time in leadership. So having that experience, getting promoted every 6 months after that into new positions within this organization, and then kind of looking at an external opportunity when it came about, because where I was unfortunately did fold. So I moved in to director level at that point. And I have been working on the director of business development on leads, all the way to realizing that what I love to do is starting a sales process from scratch, really knowing that that's not something that I can transfer very evenly at any organization. I have to really understand the client. I have to understand the product. And then from that point on, just perfect it and just grab it and go with it, which is exactly what I'm doing here now, right? To create a new sales process. So that's where I'm at now. So really with Uvaro coming in and just opening up a brand new way of selling, but like just as a team.
Awesome. I love that. There's so much amazing, so many amazing tidbits in that story. So if I may, I'm going to pull out a couple of threads if that works for you.
For sure.
Right out of the gate, you mentioned, you threw your resume, you took that courageous step. You said, one, I need to change. And two, you took that courageous step of throwing your resume on LinkedIn, or not on LinkedIn, sorry, Monster, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. And someone reached out and gave you an opportunity, or you took that opportunity. You saw it as an opportunity, you took it for yourself. And then you doubled down and began to master your craft over 4 years. The transition of going from fitness, running, an operational business, and then moving into sales, it sounds like you identified that opportunity as, a craft. How did you know that this was even something you wanted to master? How is this something that you knew you wanted to invest in?
I think for me, it was people, right? I just loved having an opportunity where I can make new connections, new relationships. Like, I'm not here to sell you something that won't work for your business, right? Everybody has a growth plan. Everything I've sold is about growth. A company wants to grow. Even back at the gym, it was about an individual who wanted to grow in regards to feeling better about themselves, or just becoming more of an active lifestyle and just taking it within. It was never about anybody else, but it was about themselves, like on an individual basis. So I think as I look at it from every different type of employer or business that I speak to, the conversation is always about growth. So I think when you're thinking about going into sales, the scariest part, and I know people on this call can relate, is just picking up the phone, right? But what I realized is that just picking up the phone and talking and asking questions and getting that person to speak to you, that's amazing. That's rewarding on an every day. If you see your role as getting on the phone and doing the same thing verbatim every day, you're going to get tired. You're going to get bored. It's just not something that I ever want to do. So I genuinely will do a little bit of research, get to know who I am speaking to, find out information. If there's anything that maybe they've won or they've posted over time, and just get to know their why. And just work on that. People don't get the opportunity to always talk about themselves or their experience. And if you come in and get to do that. So I think I relate every role I ever had as an opportunity just to get to know more people. And I know that I've succeeded at that when as soon as I get off the call, they somehow want to connect, even if it's a deal that never closed, but I left some sort of impression that they want to follow my LinkedIn success or see what I might have to post or whatnot. So I just feel like I love building relationships.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And having been on the other side, absolutely, you're fantastic at it too. And that it's incredible that those things come together. What I appreciate about your response in that is it's clear you've been able to identify that thing that's continuous, that thread that took you from fitness into sales, and its growth and its people. So it sounds like from your comment, being able to identify those threads for yourself is really helpful when looking to decide when you want to double down and quote unquote master a craft.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then what it sounds like you did, just kind of doubling down on that, which is amazing, is you took that. It's a bit of inception. It turns out that you love growth, and that's your thread. You took growth and you create growth for yourself at every opportunity, every moment, so that you're also inspiring yourself just in the mini activities along the way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, as a leader, that growth, that self-growth is not about you anymore. It's about the people that you're going to lead, right? So I think in sales, you're going to have either two ways that you're going to grow. You're going to look at it and say, I want to be in sales. A lot of the members that we work with, they're fresh, they're new in sales. But over time, they're going to say, do I want to continue on that sales path? Do I want to go into maybe something a bit more complex? Do I want to sell maybe into more larger deals, enterprise type sales, and you can really have a career in sales throughout your time. But then there might be the time where you realize you're really affecting other people, you're helping other people grow, and you take a look at your career and say, maybe management or leadership is better for me, because I know I could still focus on myself and I could still have this growth and I can have this opportunity. But then I can also affect other people to help them on their path and be that support, be that mentor, and be that leader for them. So I think it's super important to kind of know throughout your sales journey which path maybe, and you might change that at all times, right? You might go back and forth, but I do believe that I chose the path of leadership, and I chose that path for myself to affect those who I might work with today, that I've worked in the past, and to continue having those relationships to watch their careers grow. And ever since I was at that company for 4 years, to still have those conversations and hear about the growth that they've been able to experience has just been amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. What I'd love to know, the language that you used, I chose leadership. Thank you. Yes, you chose leadership. You saw that direction for yourself. For other people who are thinking, I want to choose leadership, where do you start? I mean, you're fresh to the field. You've just been in, your SDR role, your AE role for 4 months, let's say, but you've learned a bunch of things and you want to begin practicing that muscle. How do you start?
Number one, don't let your work go, right? Because the most important thing is that you're able to lead, but still be the prime example of that amazing work. So that's super important. I think that you have to look at it as, here's things that I'm doing. Here's things that I'm doing really, really well. First, can I explain it to somebody? Like, if I want to do something and I want to do it well, can I teach it? Can I express it? Can I make it make sense for somebody else? And that is hard. Like, I remember the way I did really well in school was I had to have somebody sit down and I had to explain it to them. And if it made sense to them, then I know I understood it. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing first, is just to make sure that you can go on that route to be able to do it without having anything fall short. Be available, right? Make yourself known, be a peer. A lot of people are starting new jobs. A lot of people all the time are switching, right? We have this whole thing during COVID. I can't remember the name of it, right? But everybody is looking for a new opportunity, right? We have a lot of people that during COVID maybe were affected by employment and now decide to come into tech sales, right? But a lot of people are starting new. And if you could be an ally to that person, if you could, maybe hone in on something that but you never want to assume what people need or what people want. So I think it's really about having those real honest and open conversations. Be very open about what you're good at. Don't pretend to be good at something right off the bat that you might not be good at due to, let's say, we spoke about it, a performance block, but just getting to know people, talking, because sometimes people are not going to ask. So I think that leadership, or how you start doing that, is just by being that leader. There's nothing better that a manager would be so grateful for, to be, having their team come to them, somebody like an individual saying, these are the things I could really help you with. I'm really confident. I do really well at these things. How can I help you? How can I help maybe lessen some of the things that you need to do in a day to perhaps give you a hand? So I think there's ways that you could shine as a potential leader, but you'll know within yourself if you have those skills, or even want to be that type of leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super tactical. Number one, can I teach it to somebody else? Does it make sense? Number two, make yourself available. And in doing those things, it's a way to start down that path. I love it. Thank you. I know I gave you a list of questions. I haven't asked any of them. I did this to Alex too. I'm sorry to both of you, but I have one more question, one more thread I want to pull, and then I'll go back to the script. Sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. You said something just in that first description, that company where you spent 4 years, you applied for a job and you did not get it, but you got feedback. The first time I heard that story, I did hear this one time before. The thing that stood out to me was your approach to feedback. You collected all the feedback and you kept your feedback journal and you presented it, and that helped validate and really carve out opportunity. I love that. We recommend people keep feedback journals in the program all the time because of you. Hearing it the second time, what stood out to me is that so many of our customers find themselves in that position where they apply for a job, they don't get it, and they don't get feedback. Mm-hmm. What do you do? How do you overcome performance blocks if you don't get that feedback?
You can't do the blame game. And when COVID hit, I wasn't working, and I'm very honest about my path. I wasn't working, and every day I got up, I got ready. I tried to look presentable, approach all these different scenarios, look who's hiring. I had lots of interviews. I would say 8 out of 10, I never got the feedback. And I could be in that situation and say, their loss. Like, I did everything perfect. They missed out on a great hire. Yeah, maybe you have that in the back of your head and you know that you could have been a great asset to that business. But the most important thing is to look at your story, right? Where might there be gaps? Like, if it's fresh in your mind, you have to be assessing the situation, not on all the reasons why you didn't get it. Every opportunity has to be a learning opportunity to get into the next interview and do even better. If you don't get that feedback, you have to look within yourself. Like, you have to look at your process and every step of it. There are many steps of an interview. I went through 8 rounds at a company, 8 rounds, and I didn't get the role. And that's frustrating, but what could I do? I can't not get up the next day and try to apply again. You know, I'm a single mom to now almost an 11-year-old. I can't do nothing. So I have to not take it personal, but I have to look within on my strengths and really hone in on what is the perception? What is the perception I'm giving? What is an area of opportunity and where I could improve? And I feel like, yes, once I felt like I had an answer, I then took it to people. I took it to leaders, people in my community, and people I know that were going to give me super honest feedback. Some didn't, and some were giving me that feedback that I needed necessarily to move on. And it was really about having that self-awareness of where maybe my communication skill wasn't fantastic, or maybe where I didn't take a project and take a time to really read it through. And maybe it just wasn't a culture fit, and maybe we couldn't find an answer, but I knew that I had to keep going. And there's so many times that we can be so disappointed by not getting that feedback and just not moving on. Then we say, you know what, I'm not going to strive for what I really want. I'm going to settle. I'm going to go back to what I think is better for me. And that's too bad, because then that vicious circle is just going to be happening over and over again. But you have a desire, you have something that you want to get out of what you're doing. And that's why you applied for it. So don't give up. Just do what you can to try the next. There's hundreds of different opportunities out there. And just because 2 or 3 of them on the I know who that is. So just on the surface, you really have to just consider like being confident with what you know you're good at, being vulnerable to knowing what you need to improve upon, speaking to people in your network to help you get there, and keep going.
Yeah. Is he too obnoxious? He does this all the time. All right. Perfect. I appreciate that answer so much, because again, tactical. If you're not getting the feedback that you need, that you want, that you hope to get, then looking inward, doing that hard work, self-reflecting, coming up with something, and then taking that something to other people to get their feedback from, or to get their feedback on. And you know, the reality is our networks do so much for us. Using your network in that way, reaching out to your network in that way, is a very humbling experience. And like you said, very vulnerable, but it also lets you think about how, as someone who is a part of other people's network, that's ways that we can help. That's ways that I can reach out and help my network. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, really, when people reach out to you, it's because they see value in what you could offer them. So I really believe not to take that lightly. And I love it when people reach out to me, and when I have the time, and I reach out to people who are on this today. I need help. I need to grow. I need that feedback. And I will never think that I'm in a position ever, that no, doesn't matter where I get to with my career, that I can't handle that feedback or go and try to get better.
Yeah. Awesome. I said I would go back to the script. Thank you. So patient. I'd love to know, when is the last time you recognized a performance block in yourself?
I mean, I just started a new role, so I'm having performance blocks all the time, right? I think for me right now, it's a couple of factors. And number one, it's knowledge. I haven't been here for that long. So I think to really say, when can I have the time to learn? And I'm asking tons of questions. I'm asking questions to my team every day. We're collaborating to help me through that knowledge. And also they know I'm not afraid. I'm on the calls. I'm making these customer calls. I'm not afraid to do that. It's not really a matter of being afraid. It's more that I'm ready. You know what? I know what we could potentially sell and close. So I'm continuously collaborating with the team. Another performance block for sure is just going to be, it's time. We have a lot of stuff to get done. And I think you really have to look at your calendar, your schedule, and really look at it and think, how can I, have that balance, family, life balance, the work, and be able to still get it done. Like, I love what I do. So I'm definitely not afraid to, have a Saturday or Sunday where I know I'm not in a meeting heavy time, where I can get things for my performance. But I think it really depends on where you're at in your career, performance, having the time, the knowledge, and also the skill set. So there are people who are definitely going to be available to help you. And I don't want to be that person that says, go and ask everybody, because not everybody is going to say yes. Not everybody is going to be willing to help. So I'm just being very transparent, but I think that, you know, there's a way to just kind of isolate that block and being able to really come up with a plan. And maybe the most important thing is, if you're working where you have leadership to speak to, maybe not just run to them and say, I can't figure this out. I mean, what a manager loves is when you say, hey, I have a problem. I have something that I'm not able to really figure out right now. Here are potential solutions that I think might be a good response or some good help. Am I on the right path? Right? So I think we can easily have fires and continue having all these fires, but if we can just, you know, take that level of ownership and come up with a couple of potential solutions, I think that would be a really good way to look at performance blocks.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like number one step, isolate that block, figure it out. And that can be done by asking questions, being cognizant that you don't want to always inundate with questions, but ask questions to fill knowledge gaps to help you isolate that block. But then also, once you've isolated it, doing the work to identify what might be some potential solutions, so that when you do go and tap that subject matter expert or ask them for time, you've demonstrated that you're working on the problem and that you've already potentially progressed it forward.
Exactly. Yeah. And it could be frustrating if you have a leader that says, well, what do you think? And you think it's almost a lazy tactic at times. Like, do they not know the answer? But they just want you to think within, like, come up, be solution oriented. You know, this problem is going to arise again, or maybe it's come up in the past and you're not remembering that there is a way to get over it, but you have to really just be able to think about it and think of those potential solutions. And when a manager or yourself is coming up with the potential solutions, what that is actually doing for you, that's your growth. That's where the growth potential is.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Alex smile. I think Alex's favorite question, aside from why, is, what do you think? Absolutely. And you're absolutely right, because that's where growth happens. But then being given the opportunity to grow is a part of that equation as well. So giving yourself the chance to find those opportunities, to take advantage of them by presenting solutions, so that your manager has the confidence to ask you, what do you think? You're creating opportunity for yourself. So I love that, because again, it's very tactical. Mm-hmm. You mentioned, just in describing the blocks, performance blocks, time. Time's a really interesting one, because it's one of those ones that we just have no control over. Or do we? That's the question. So once you've identified that time is your block, you mentioned kind of looking at your calendar. What are you doing when you look at your calendar? What are some of the compromises and the actions that you can take to unblock yourself if you don't have enough time?
I mean, usually, like for me, we probably have a time in the beginning of the week that we know exactly what our plan is, like what certain issues or what is it that we want to be able to progress through to a Friday. And we've made that list on Monday. So many times certain things start to get into the calendar that you have to ask yourself, if this is going to hinder those results that I need to give by Friday, is this something that I definitely need to be a part of? Right? You want to really be able to ask yourself, what impression also are you giving to the team? Right? I like to always be available if I have the time. Right? So I make that clear that I will be there. I will do what we can. Maybe, a 30 minutes could be a 15-minute meeting, just because, you have your Zoom or your calendar set to a 30-minute block. Do you need to book that 30 minutes, or could we have a quick 10 to 15-minute call? So I think it's really about asking that for the calendar. Another thing, I did it today, because today I had a really busy day, right? Between 4 or 5 interviews, I had client calls. I blocked myself off about 1 hour today, and I haven't done that yet. I haven't done that in a really long time, but blocking off that hour where I knew that I was going to have a lot of paperwork, but on the computer, that if I didn't get that stuff done today, it was going to go into my, what I like to call my precious time, where that was going to affect the time I had with my son. So I knew that from 4 interviews I had back to back, I have stuff to fill out. If I wait too long, or if I don't get those things done, it's probably not going to be done that well. So it's really important to take a look at your day, take a look at your week. Is your calendar set up for you to take those tasks and goals that you made for Monday and have them ready by Friday? If other things are going into your calendar, do you need to prepare your Monday to Friday with those working blocks? That could potentially help you. But a lot of times, as what tends to be a quote, as a workaholic, we're like, you know what? Book into my calendar. Don't worry. I will do all the things I need to do after 5 o'clock. I'll just get to it at the after 5. And that over time is going to burn you out. So, maybe you want to take 5 to 6. That's okay. I mean, let's be real. When we're in tech sales, it's not a 9 to 5, right? It's not a 9 to 5. It's just like, thinking about sales, like your base is certain things, but your OTE is where the work is done, right? That's where you're booking meetings and running and getting through deals to close them. I'm not saying you have to work around the clock. I don't think that that's what's going to bring you success. But I think if you organize your calendar and make sure that you do a midweek check on your Monday tasks, am I where I need to be to get them ready by Friday?
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love it. Look at the week ahead of time, check midweek, make sure that you're still on track for that end of week, and precious time. That was a bit of a nugget that you threw in there. That idea of kind of a portion of time that is sacred and treating it that way, honoring the other people in your life, I think is some really fantastic takeaways. Ilana, thank you. Speaking of time, I think we have taken 2 minutes more of everybody's afternoon. Thank you so much, Ilana. It flew by. I know, it's because I went off script. No, it's you just amazing stories and experiences. So much value for everybody here. Thank you to, it's our customers who have allowed us, enabled us, given us the opportunity to come here and share this with you. So I hope everybody will consider joining us next Thursday at 4 p.m. when we speak with Jenna, our CFO, another new team member, around finding your place and how to build community within the workplace, again, with career success in mind. So thank you, Ilana. Really appreciated the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
you.